sin of Sodom and Gomorrah to the fallen angels. That's what he's doing, who left their first estate. I mean, he just assumes everybody knows what he's talking about. So it's all lost. It's Genesis 3:15 is never taught to the up and coming pastors. And the book of Enoch, don't look at that, whatever you do. Oh, we don't need to be looking at the book of Enoch. That's, excuse me, Jude quotes it, found on the Dead Sea Scrolls. If Jude quotes it, it probably never conjecture, but it most likely points to the fact that maybe Jesus read it too. Hello. Of course he did. Of course he did.
Of course he did. Good. Welcome to Enfoque. Today we have a very special guest. He's been with us before. We had a tremendous conversation when Mondo joined us and we talked about the Paracas skulls in Peru. But today they're right back there. LA, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm excited about the topic we're going to be talking about.
Well, great to be here. Thanks for having me on. And I'm looking forward to it also.
Let's begin by talking about what just happened with Congress and the disclosure and the witnesses that came forth, like you were telling me before, under oath. Can you tell us about that and what you think it's really happening here?
I watched the entire proceedings because that's part of what I do. And I also had a discussion on our channel on YouTube, L.A. Marzulli, with Karen Wilkinson the next day. So Karen and I sort of looked at what had happened, and then we weighed in on it. First of all, you had four people. Luis Elizondo was there again, incredible man. What a patriot. The best of the best of the best. He's an incredible man. You had an admiral there. You had two other guys, all saying the same thing, that the UFO phenomenon is real. So why the needle didn't move, we got nothing new. It wasn't David Grush a few months ago standing up and going, hey, we've retrieved non-human biologics from the craft. It wasn't that. That was a rung on the ladder of disclosure. Mm-hmm. Shameless plug. That was one of the last rungs in the book on the ladder of disclosure. What this hearing did, in my opinion, was add to the foundation. Add to the foundation that's already there. It added to it. It made it rock solid. That, you know what, we're not making this stuff up, and people need to understand that this has been going on for decades, and what are we looking at here? And so all the testimony from, and some of it was dodged, like Elizondo and Gallaudet basically said the same thing. We need to meet in the skiff about this, a secure facility. I understand all that, and they need to do that. But the bottom line to me, while nothing new was really, from my viewpoint anyway, nothing new. What it did do is, it added to the foundation that this phenomenon is real, burgeoning, and not going away.
Now, you have been covering this type of events for many years.
Yes.
You are a Christian. You love the Lord. You are vocal about your faith. Mm-hmm. And you and I were talking right before we started recording the program that many, not to say most, churches are reluctant to talk about this. Can you tell me a little more about this and why you think the pastors don't want to talk about this?
I think the pastors are afraid. I think it's a fear-based reaction. There are a few that are talking about it. I mean, I was just in several places with pastors that invite me into their church to speak and arm their congregation. And what happens usually is most of the people from the congregation don't show up, and everybody 3 or 4 states away make a beeline because I'm going to be there, because they're hungry. They want to hear it. I think that pastors are afraid of the ridicule, that they're going to be laughed at, that some parishioners will leave the church. So it's a fear-based deal. But the church has become so irrelevant for the most part anyway. I'll just give you an example. So we were attending a church here. We just popped in to see it, to see what it was like. We went there maybe 4 or 5 times at the max, maybe a half a dozen, 6 times. And the worship leader stands up. Well, first of all, the assistant pastor, she goes, "We're going to sing some songs right now, so, buckle up." So then the worship leader goes, if you want to call him a worship leader, and he goes, they launched with the song, and it's, "Life is a highway, I'm going to ride it all
night long."
And I just look at my wife, we just look at each other and kind of go, we laughed it another 4 or 5 times, and I mean, that was it. We just bailed.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just, and to think that this guy would even address the subject is not going to happen. About pre-COVID, so what's that, 2019, 20? So you're looking at roughly 6, 7, 8 years, about 8 years ago. We were at a church, and I handed their worship leader a DVD that I had made, the first DVD we made on UFOs. And so that was on a Sunday. So now it's the following Sunday. And obviously this became a standing joke, because when I pulled the parking lot, everybody was like, there's the guy, and we just left the church. We just said, okay, you call me. I don't care what you call me. I've been kicked out of churches. I was kicked out of the last church I was pastoring. I was basically booted out for insubordination, whatever that is. God bless them. I mean, it's 15 years ago. Who cares? And it's the best thing that ever happened. And I bear no ill will. But what they were really afraid of was the book, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural, and the fact that I was talking openly about UFOs. And that's, okay, they were looking for something. So you can call it whatever you want. You can trump up the charges, insubordination. Why? Because I said, how come this book that you haven't read is allowed in the bookstore, but my book, which you haven't read either, is not allowed in the bookstore? Isn't that a double standard?
Absolutely.
That's what I said. So that was trumped up like insubordination. And that was the end of that. Best thing that ever happened to me. Hallelujah. Because from that, everything just exploded. 30 DVDs, 14 books. And not quite 14, but because at that time I had already penned 4 books. So 10 books in the last 15 years. It's a lot of work. And then 30 films. So the churches are asleep. They're afraid to touch it because of the stigma that's gone with it for decades. If you talk about UFOs, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're a tinfoil hat wearing type person, and on it goes. Well, it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not, because this is the coming great deception. And I wrote that in 1999 in my very first book, Nephilim, The Truth is Here. It was a fictional work. There were 3 books in that trilogy, and all of them deal with the UFO phenomena. There was a phrase I coined way back in 1999 that this is the UFO phenomena, the revealing of the so-called extraterrestrial presence, which are not extraterrestrials. They are interdimensional entities, i.e. fallen angels. This is the coming great deception. That's the phrase I coined, the coming great deception, because that's what it is. And, Jesus warns us to be like the days of Noah. Men think for fear what is coming upon the earth. Even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. Paul adds to that, Satan comes with all signs and lying wonders. I mean, they're giving you the warning. It's like right there. We're warned, and yet so many pastors won't even touch it. They're afraid to touch it because of the ridicule. So, I mean, there you go. What do you do with that?
I think it was somewhat acceptable to call it, to allow it to be a stigma or a taboo back then, but not anymore. Things have changed. Yes. And the church needs to, if we truly are sons of Issachar and we know what Israel needs to do, like the word says, it's time for us to get with the program here. 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, okay, you're weird if you talk about UFOs. Right. But not anymore. You recently interviewed Rick Renner. I almost fell off my chair. Yes, I have it. I bought 5 books. I've given them out to the people that I believe need to read that book. When I saw that this man, who's a worldwide, well-known theologian, joined this conversation, I said, okay, I think the rapture is happening tomorrow. And then I saw that you interviewed him. Can you tell me what did you feel? What did you learn? What did you think about this man joining this conversation?
Well, it was my first foray with Mr. Renner, and we immediately had a simpatico off air before we started, hitting the camera button. We immediately had a kindred spirit, and we started talking shop. We just started comparing notes and stuff. So it was great. It was a great interview. It was great to talk to him, get him on record, talking about the Nephilim, what it was, Genesis 3:15, Genesis 6, and then, everything that spills over from that. So, what's great is someone like him is coming out of the woodwork, as it were, with this. And more people, I don't want to call them Johnny-come-latelys, but, there are some of those too. But when you get someone that's as solid as Rick Renner and is well-versed and he's a Hebrew scholar, I mean, it just adds weight to the whole argument. And frankly, we need more Rick Renners in the world to add weight to the conversation, to say that this is essential, that the body of Messiah needs to understand that we are living in unprecedented, tumultuous times, and we are. I've never seen this is the fact that Putin's firing a missile, which is something new, and now they're talking about nuking a city in Poland. I mean, it's just, World War III. Yeah, you bet your boots.
Yep.
Everything is just boiling over. It's getting very strange. But the Bible warned us about this: wars and rumors of wars, famines and pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, troublesome time. That's exactly where we are. Be like the days of Noah. And the days of Noah are very tumultuous, very turbulent. So that's where we are.
I think any which way you look at this, whether it's the UFO, the UAPs, the Nephilim, everything comes back to the Genesis 6 sons of God. Do you agree with that?
Well, it even goes back a step further. It goes back into the garden, Genesis 3:15, because Genesis 6 is the manifestation of the seed war. So in the garden, you've got Genesis 3:15, you've got Adam and Eve. And by the way, Adam and Eve are totally terrified. They are terrified. They know something's happened. They're not sure what. They're hiding from the Lord. Why would you hide from the Lord? Why? That's the first time. See, we don't know how long they're there for.
That's
we don't
right.
know how long they're actually in the garden for. Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it a year? Is it 100 years? We're not told. And the fact that Eve is chatting with this, this Nakash, the shining one, she's not taken aback by this. And how long did that dialogue? I wrote about this in Countermove, how Nephilim returned after the flood. We don't know. Was it a day, a week, a year? She's not taken aback by the fact that the Nakash is talking to her. And then she finally believes the lie. She gives some to Adam. He partakes of it, whatever that is.
Right.
And we don't know what it is, really. If we're intellectually honest, it's an apple. I'm not buying the apple story.
No.
But, whatever it is, I think, and this is conjecture on my part, I think it's changed their DNA. The sin nature they've taken on the DNA of the dragon, of the Nakash. That's what they've done, of a serpent. They've taken on his DNA, which is why they realize, number one, they're naked. Well, what does that mean? You understand? It's like, were they covered in some sort of a light aura? I hate to use the word aura because it ties right into the New Age.
Maybe like the glory of the Lord.
That's what I mean. That's better. Were they clothed in the glory of the Lord?
Yep.
And all of a sudden that glory departs. Ichabod, the glory of the Lord is departed. So it's departed from them. And then they realize they're naked. Very, very possible. Again, it's conjecture.
Right.
The thing that drives me nuts about the Bible is, can I have a couple of paragraphs on this, please? Can I have some more, maybe a couple of pages? I mean, come on, Moses, please. How were they clothed? We don't know. We only know that they realized now for the first time in their existence, and we don't know how long, again, they've been in the garden. We realize that they realize that that they're naked. They have no clothing. The covering, and I believe it was a covering of light, the glory of the Lord. And it's no longer there, and they're hiding. They sew fig leaves, all this other stuff, who knows? And they're hiding from the Lord. They are terrified.
Yeah.
They are absolutely terrified. They know something very dramatic, very wrong has happened, but they're not sure what, because they can't. This is the first time this has ever happened. They can't go to someone before them and go, hey, when this, have you heard about this? This is new territory. And Gary Stearman calls it the dragon trap, because the Lord could just go like this, El Shaddai, God Almighty, could just blink his eyes and the dragon and all the fallen angels and everybody else are gone, right? But then the good angels are going like, what was he so afraid of? Why did he destroy them all? And he could do that in the New York Minute. So he sets at him, and I got this from Gary Stearman. He creates, a man in his own image, sets us in the garden. It's a dragon trap. It's a dragon trap, because the dragon comes in, and sure enough, he crosses the line. The protocols of the heavenly war we're not privy to, but something happens where, because he tempts Adam and Eve, he crosses a line where he's not allowed to. And that sets up the judgment. So now you got Adam and Eve over here, you got the dragon here, Satan the serpent, and you got the pre-incarnate Christ, the theophany, in the middle. And Jesus, because that's who it is, says to the dragon, and this is paramount to any study of the biblical prophetic narrative, because if we don't get Genesis 3:15, we don't understand the rest of the book. And Genesis 3:15, Jesus says to the dragon, to the serpent, to the Nakash, your seed, your offspring. I'll say it again. Your seed, your offspring will be at war with the seed, the offspring of the woman. The one coming from the woman, the proto-evangelium, the Mashiach, the Messiah. So you've got the seed war, and that's what it is. And it's not taught in the churches. Folks, if you were going to keep one scripture away from the people, that's the scripture you keep away, because it's the gateway. It's the gateway to the Bible. Understand Genesis 3:15, the whole Bible opens up to you. Don't understand Genesis 3:15, you don't have the proper exegesis, the proper interpretation. Good luck, because when you get to Genesis 6, well, it's the Gully line of Seth and the Hoochie Mamas of Cain. That's what it is. No, it's not. Hoochie Mama is not in the Bible. And Seth is not in the line of Seth is not mentioned in Genesis 6. They're just making it up. The 4th century, they're just making it up. So you keep Genesis 3:15 away from the people. Oh, that's not what it really says. Really doesn't mean that it's going to be a seed war. I got this from Gary Stearman. And I never forget, we were at the first Nephilim Mounds Conference in Ohio. And Gary led us off. He had the place of honor. So he led the conference off. So it was Russ Dizdar, it was Gary Stearman, Russ Dizdar, Chief Joseph Riverwind was there, Fritz Zimmerman, and myself. And Gary's title was, It's All About the Seed. Life-changing. I knew about Genesis 6, but I hadn't connected it to Genesis 3:15, nor had my mentor, Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, to the best of my knowledge. So Gary comes up with It's All About the Seed. We're just going, oh my gosh. So that's why every time I bring it up, I give my elder brother credit.
Amen.
Unlike many people in the body of Christ who
walk
around like, this is what I just discovered, and yes, I'm the genius. Thank you very much. And that's what they do. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I was on a show recently where somebody started going, yeah, this is the coming great deception. And I just went, excuse me, I coined that phrase back in 1999. Excuse me. No. I didn't embarrass them, but I mean, it's just like, it's just, anyway.
Too much sensationalism.
Well, the Lord's in control.
Let me ask you something. As you were talking, I was thinking, and I've never seen it like this. Do you think that perhaps once the glory of the Lord departed from Adam and Eve, do you think that maybe they saw the Nakash in a different light and they saw him for who he really was? Do you think that's possible? I never thought about that.
Yeah. Anything's possible. I think they realized what they had done, but they didn't fully grasp it, and then the whole cursing thing comes down. Nakash is going to do this, and you're going to work the field, and thorns and this labor, labor or pain in childbirth. I mean, everything flips. But the whole point of this thing, it flips because now the dragon has taken the bait. So someone is coming from the seed of the woman who will kill the dragon, crush the dragon's head. That happens on Calvary almost 2,000 years ago. And I've been talking, in Colossians, we get this. He is the head of the body of the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn of the dead, so that everything will be preeminent. And I'm sitting there going like, how does, why is he on such an ego trip? Why does he have to be preeminent? I don't understand. He's the firstborn of the dead, so that he would be preeminent in all things. He's the firstborn of the dead. Okay, I get that. You rose from the dead. That's great. I get that. But why? And then the Holy Spirit began. Come here, young man. Because I'm turning 74 in December. Okay, a couple of weeks I'll be 74, and I in some ways I'm like a little kid. I'm like basically 12 years old most of the time, and I think that's what keeps my happy face on most of the time.
Good for you.
Yeah. So the Lord goes, he goes, how do you kill God? How do you kill God? And I just went, whoa. How can you kill God? So Jesus, there's a hand gesture in Greek Orthodox paintings where Jesus' hand is like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what this stands for is Father, Son, Holy Spirit, fully God, fully man, and the circle is complete. Jesus is fully God and fully man. Oftentimes we forget his humanity, but it's there. Absolutely there to the nines. Let me just give you one example, and then I'll go back into the how can you kill God, right? So because the enemy can't figure out, the dragon and the Kosh can't figure out how is this going to happen. He doesn't understand. But I digress. Let me get into this. So Jesus dies and he goes into the grave. The body is in the grave. There's the Shroud of Turin. And
we must do a program on the shroud.
This is our next film. Okay, where was I? So Jesus is dead, body in the tomb. His spirit and soul go down where? Tartarus. He preaches to the fallen angels who were there and proclaims to them. It's a proclamation, according to E.W. Bullinger. It's a proclamation. No jailbreak. You're not getting out. So now he comes back into his body, and another 3-hour conversation. Isn't it interesting? The first person he appears to. And I get into all sorts of trouble with this one because it's not Mary, his mother.
Say it. Please say it.
It's not John. it's Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
And she loves him.
Yeah.
Jesus is fully God, fully man. Fully God, fully man. He loves her. I think she was beautiful. He healed her. And I think there was a love there that would have been more than he could possibly get. So he's fully God and fully man. As a man, he realizes she's very beautiful. As a man, maybe he would want to have her as a wife.
Mm-hmm.
Did that happen? No. Because he's God and he knows he can't go there. He's not sinning. He's not lusting after Mary.
Oh, I love this.
Lust is not in there because lust is a sin. He's not lusting, but he appreciates how beautiful she is and how much she loves him. There's a relationship there that is so deep that it's not talking about in the churches. Oh, she was a prostitute, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Thank you so much. And who are you? All right. You're just another sinner, just like me, saved by grace. So we're all in the same boat. So, don't get puffed up like a Pharisee. So the bottom line is, I think he loved her. I really do. But as God, he's not nothing. There was no lust. There was no sin. None of that. It didn't happen. But he loved her, and he goes, don't touch me. The first person, anybody he could appear to. Okay. So now he says, go back and tell my brothers, my disciples, that I've risen from the dead. So Mary does that. They don't believe her. You're full of hooey. So the gentle Jesus that we would like to think exists, and he does, with the lamb on his shoulders, the white guy with the lamb on his shoulders, that whole guy that we see in Sunday school. So the gentle Jesus, the sensitive Jesus, the politically correct Jesus, the Jesus who was always seeker friendly, would have done something like this to the apostles. So the apostles are in the upper room. I just love to say this. Can't you tell? The apostles in the upper room. They're all they're freaked out because they figure we're next. We're all going to die. The doors are closed. Who knows what they're thinking? It's like, I can't believe this. And they're mourning because Jesus is dead. They don't get it. Nobody understands it.
Yeah.
So the gentle, sensitive, seeker-friendly Jesus would have done this. Guys, don't be alarmed. It's me, Jesus. I'm on the outside of the room.
I'm going to come in.
I know what you're thinking, but everything is okay. Take a nice deep breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath. There you go. Now, I've risen from the dead. I'm going to explain it to you, but I'm going to come in very, very quietly, very softly. Don't be alarmed. I'm not a ghost, and I'll explain the whole thing to you, okay? So just, I'm on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And Jesus opens the door slowly and just walks in very calmly, very peacefully. But that's not what he does. That's not what he does, because he's in his glorified body. He pops through the wall. They're totally freaked out. They have nothing in their wheelhouse. I can see them, running to the door to try to get out. I mean, they're totally freaked out. And he calms them down. They touch him. They realize he's not a ghost. And then he does, there's no humor in the Bible, remember this. He does a total guy-man thing. It's a guy-man thing, totally. He looks at the disciples after everything calms down and he goes, what do you guys got to eat?
You're right.
I'm not making, but that scene to me, I can't wait to get to heaven so I can rent the DVD and watch it. I just can't wait. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories to tell. So let's go to the cross. All right. The enemy, the dragon, has set this whole thing up. And everybody's going, well, you can't kill God, so I don't know how this is going to happen. Mary and John are at the foot of the cross. And they've got to be thinking to themselves, because they both know who he is, especially Mary. Mary knows who he is. She knows how this is why the whole thing with Mary is so cool, because she's like really tight. She knows who he is, what's going on. Yeah. And she's got to be thinking to herself, okay, he's got to come down now. I don't understand why he allowed himself to be beaten so brutally and then nailed. But now he's going to show who he really is. He's going to heal all his wounds, and he's going to come down. John is there, and then Jesus says, this is your mother, take care of her. At this point, they got to be worrying. Like, what is he telling us? Why is he saying this? He's signing off. Mm-hmm. He's signing off, which is just unprecedented, because you can't kill God. And Mary and John are thinking, you can't kill God. The crowd knows that. And they're saying, even though they don't know it, they're saying it. He saved others. Why can't he save himself? They're taunting him. Come down, come down, come down. And the dragon's figuring he's going to come down because, we made a spectacle, blah, blah, blah. It's not what happens. He dies. You can't kill God, but you can kill God, because Jesus is fully God and fully man. And he's dead. It's not a swoon. He's dead, which is why the Roman takes the spear, thrusts it in the side. That in itself is so barbaric. It's just, because he's dead. Yeah. And then blood and water come out. The Billy Rubin, that's the deal. He suffocates. Yeah. He suffocates on the cross, dies of a broken heart, essentially. Mm-hmm. Dies of a broken heart. And so he goes down to Tartarus, as I said. Remember, you can't kill God. Oh, yes, you can. There's the price. There's crushing the dragon's head, because the dragon, nobody saw it. And yet it was in Isaiah 53, but nobody saw it. Nobody, the dragon didn't get it. Mary and John didn't get it. Peter certainly didn't get it. Nobody got it. Nobody got it. That this is how, but that was it. The price was paid. The price was paid in full. Telestai, I think it's called in the Greek. It's over, paid in
Tetelestai.
Full. What is it again?
Tetelestai.
That's it. Yeah. It's just.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So all that to say this, that Genesis 3:15 is the gateway to the Bible. It sets up everything. The one coming from the woman is going to crush the dragon's head. So the dragon sees this and he goes, well, we can do this. All we need to do is pollute the genome. All we need to do is contaminate the DNA, and then Messiah or this guy coming from the woman won't be born, and we win. Checkmate. Planet's mine. I get to do what I want, because that's the protocols of the heavenly war. But that's not what happens. 8 people get on the ark. So it's not like we got, 8 billion people on the planet that we don't. Maybe 1 million people, we don't even know.
Mhm.
I mean, people can extrapolate that and try to figure it out from, Usher and all this other, Bishop Unger and all this stuff. But I mean, we don't know. But it's not like it is the population. And it's in a very centralized location, in my opinion.
Correct.
So all this happens, and only 8 people were saved, and they're pure in all their generations, Genesis 6. So only 8 people, because the dragon is trying to corrupt the image, Doug Hamp's book, corrupt the image. And if he does that, if everybody's got Nephilim gene or somehow, whatever, then the genome is polluted. I win, checkmate, it's over. But that's not what happened. Everybody who gets on that ark, in my opinion, is pure in all their generations. Why? Because of the vetting process. Because the Most High God says to Noah, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives. It's a vetting process. He knows everything. He would have said, Noah, you, your wife, 2 of your sons' wives, but not Ham's wife. She can't go because she's carrying a Nephilim gene. Nonsense. There's a second incursion. That's the whole book, Countermove. How the Nephilim returned after the flood. I think I have it right here. Oh, yes. Is that it? Oh, no, that's Days of Chaos. Sorry. Here's another book. But it's Countermove, how the Nephilim returned after the flood. And that's why I wrote the book, because there was a second incursion, a third incursion, a fourth incursion. The same thing is going on now, the mixing of the seed, which gets us back into, the whole UFO thing, the abduction phenomena. So Genesis 3:15 is the gateway to the Bible. Genesis 6, the whole thing explodes. Tower of Babel, Nimrod becomes Gibborim, becomes Nephilim through ritualistic sex magic. That's where you get the whole confusing of the languages. And then the same thing, the earth is divided. And then you get Abraham and the Nephilim kings. Abraham goes against the Nephilim kings. That's who they are. They're the Nephilim. It's the first time we hear about it, really. So they're back. They're back in the land. That's who they are.
I think the church has not come to terms with that. It's just like the book of Joshua. Go back and read it, and you're going to find that he was fighting Nephilim.
Yeah, that's who it is.
But for some reason, there's been like a veil over the eyes of the church, and they don't get it. And like I said earlier, that was okay, let's say 10 years ago, but not anymore. Things have changed.
Well, actually, it's never okay.
Well, I agree with you, but for whatever reason, they couldn't see it, but it's different now. Now, you said something very important. There was a second incursion and a third and a fourth. Could we still be experiencing this same thing? And this is why we're having this phenomena happening in our midst. It's everywhere. It's like a plague. Do you think that's what's happening here?
No doubt. Daniel 2:43 tells us that their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Then the angel tells Daniel, seal up the words in the book.
Yes.
Men will run to and fro over the face of the earth, knowledge will increase. Well, that didn't happen in the Industrial Revolution until the advent of the airplane. As we are speaking, men and women run to and fro over the face of the earth. As we are speaking, knowledge increases exponentially. We're in the time of the end. So their seed, who are they? Their seed will mingle with the seed of men. So it's not men. So who is it? Giraffes and hamsters, as Russ Dizdar used to say. So it's not giraffe seed mingling with, it's not what we're looking at. Sorry. So what are we really, who is this? It's the fallen angels. Jesus warns us to be like the days of Noah when he returns. It's not taught in churches. What differentiates the days of Noah? Here's something to think about. In academia, you go back 150 years. Harvard University and Yale University were seminaries. They were bastions of Christian thought. Bastions of Christian thought, bulwarks of Christian thought. So how do you change that in 150 years? You get liberal professors who don't believe in the Gospels, who don't believe in the supernatural, and you get 1 or 2 of them. And then pretty soon, over the decades, you pack both of those schools with liberal professors. Everything changes. How do you change the Bible so that the people really never understand what they're reading? You never understand the seed war. You take the seminaries and you put liberal professors in there who are not teaching the seed war. They're teaching the erroneous sons of Seth theory. And that blows them out of the water, because now they don't know anything about demons, anything about the seed war, what's going on. They don't know Genesis 3:15. And you tell them, no matter what you do, the book of Enoch is taboo. It's a pseudepigraphical book. It's not part of our Bible, blah, blah, blah. But Jude quote, I was talking to Rick Renner about this the other day. And Rick and I were going back and forth because he like I, believes that the book of Enoch, Jude is quoting it. You don't quote something unless it's part of who you are. Right?
Correct.
And Jude is quoting it verbatim. And he's linking the sexual sin of Sodom and Gomorrah to the fallen angels. That's what he's doing, who left their first estate. I mean, he just assumes everybody knows what he's talking about. So it's all lost. It's Genesis 3:15 is never taught to the up and coming pastors. And the book of Enoch, don't look at that, whatever you do. Oh, we don't need to be looking at the book of Enoch. That's, excuse me, Jude quotes it, found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. If Jude quotes it, it probably never conjecture, but it most likely points to the fact that maybe Jesus read it too. Hello. Of course he did. Of course he did.
Of course he did.
So, those are the things. And so it's not taught. And so my people perish for lack of knowledge. And even today, there are good pastors who were taught the Sethite theory. They're not going to change. They're not going to, I know some of them. They're not, they look at me like I'm a heretic because I'm teaching this whole Nephilim mixing of the seed. And I just keep throwing Genesis 3:15 to them. Well, what does that mean? They have no answer. What does that mean?
Wow.
A 13-year-old can figure that out. Your offspring is going to be at war with the offspring of the woman. So Satan can reproduce.